What is good, Mexit planners? Welcome to the first edition of the Yucatan News Weekly update for 2022. I've been off for a couple of weeks enjoying the holiday, but there is so much to get into, so let's get it. So we're going to start this with the most important thing you need to know, which is a COVID update for Merida. If you remember in my last Yucatan News Weekly update, we were trending down to less than 10 new cases a day of COVID. Well, now on December 30th, the very first case of Omicron was discovered here in Merida, and it was from a man who traveled to Mexico City. This guy was fully vaccinated, but had not received his booster shots. The numbers are rising with all the festivities, and as of 12/31, there were 48 new cases, and 46 of those were right here in the city of Merida. And also on 12/31, 13 of those new cases were confirmed to be Omicron. The Secretary of Health is asking folks right now to scale back the activities as they are seeing an increase in the Omicron virus. They are also recommending that you enable the notification system on your Android or iPhone. This is the system that I mentioned in the previous Yucatan Weekly News update that they had just tested and approved from Google and Apple. Today, I actually activated it on my iPhone, and it was really simple. You go to settings, you tell them where you're at, and you turn on a couple buttons. So this will give you an idea if you've been in contact with someone that has, been infected or has received a positive case of COVID. As of January 2nd, there were more than 150 new cases of COVID daily detected. So the numbers are going up, and all of this is being contributed to holiday parties and festivities. They're asking for people to kind of curtail their activities. This week, starting on the 5th, is Merida Fest, and it's a month-long celebration with concerts and other things planned throughout the city. Some of those things are going to be a hybrid model, digital and in presence. But with this Omicron variant, it's changing things very quickly. In fact, the kids were supposed to go back to school next week. Well, that's been pushed to mid-month past the 17th. So that the teachers can now get a booster shot. All the educators are getting booster shots, and that they can kind of let the numbers die back down. But the cases are on a rise. I passed a shopping center here called City Center that has one of the mobile testing sites in the parking lot, and the line was wrapped around the building. Also, we have family in town that needed to get, COVID tests in order to fly back. And even that line, where we had been multiple times throughout the holidays, but even those lines were out the door. So this is getting pretty serious. It's definitely a stark difference between now and before the holiday season really got going. And you can definitely tell that, maybe the numbers are being a little underreported or not yet discovered, but more and more people are being tested. And I'm sure the numbers are going to continue to climb over the next couple weeks. The great thing about living here in Merida, Yucatan is that there's a spirit of cooperation from the people. So we will continue to mask up, sanitize our hands and feet, and take precautions. All right, so that is the update on COVID. You also heard me mention in there that the schools preparing for return for all students to return to in-presence learning. And not virtual. They're basically going to scale up to 70% in January, and then 100% of the students for both colleges and lower education to be back in person. Well, this has been delayed to January 17th by the governor, considering the spread of Omicron. Switching gears a little bit, the Vibe-In service, which was free in December until the end of the year, has extended the free service until all of January, so until February. And on February 1, the tickets will simply be 12 pesos. They've had more than 434,000 trips and covered over 175,000 miles. The split or the breakdown, the demographics of the folks using the Vibe-In service are really, they average about 36 years of age, and 48% are men and 52% are women of around that age. So it's become a really good service to help people really get to where they're going. With 434,000 trips taken already, it's going to be a huge success. But in February, the ticket price will be 12 pesos for the general public, 5 pesos for students and older adults, and free for folks with disabilities. So the Viven continues to be free until the end of January. One of the big issues here at the end of the year was the inflation here in the Yucatan. And the question was asked in a survey by all of the media channels, do you feel inflation hitting your pocket? Well, 6.8% of the people here in the Yucatan said, nope, I don't feel inflation. I don't see the prices rising. But 93.2% of the people said absolutely. So that's all coinciding with, as of January 1, there was an increase in the minimum wage. So hopefully inflation will start to come down, things will get better, people will be paid a higher rate, and things will not be as expensive. One of the things that's super expensive, switching gears here, is that the Yucatan has the most expensive electricity in the country. And one of the reasons for that is that there's a pipeline, a natural gas pipeline, that could be delivering more volume, but they're only delivering 140 to 150 cubic feet of natural gas on a daily basis. Now, they were supposed to increase this volume to over 230 million cubic feet of natural gas, but for some reason, the company that manages this pipeline, the Yucatan pipeline, which is managed by a French company, Engie, has not created or has not been able to increase this daily output. The interesting thing is that most of that gas goes directly to CFE. And so CFE uses all but 10 million cubic feet of that gas on a daily basis, and the rest of it goes out to customers. So the rest is available for households if you need to get natural gas and things of that nature. But CFE is using 130 to 140 million cubic feet of natural gas every day to produce the electricity, which is another reason that the electricity here in the Yucatan is 14 to 17% higher than the rest of the country. Now, this is an issue. Hopefully, that was a promise of increased capacity to 250 million cubic feet of natural gas a day coming into the Yucatan. Hopefully, they get that going soon, along with other green energy projects, so that the price of electricity can come down. When you live in a sweltering hot place, AC is really not an option. So what do? You run your AC, it raises your electricity. I'm gonna get electric panels, solar panels. I'll be talking to you more in a future video about that. It's tax time now here in the Yucatan. This is the time of the year that property taxes are due, and there are discounts in place for those that pay early. So the discounts are in place for the first quarter of the year. In January, they're 30% off. In February, there's 15% off. In March, it's 8% off your tax bill. In addition, if you pay that tax bill right now online, you save an additional 5%. And lastly, for people like me that are planning to get solar panels or that already have solar panels, they would save 15% off the principal amount of their property taxes. So the moral of the story with tax time is pay your taxes early to get discounts, pay it online, you get additional discounts. And if you have solar panel or other green energy projects, you save an additional 15%. All right, switching gears. AMLO, the president of Mexico, arrived again back in December, right before the end of the year, to supervise the works of the Mayan Train. The Mayan Train is his legacy project. So he's been here now several times to make sure that everything is going smooth. And if you drive from Merida to Cancun, which we went to Chichen Itza recently, you can see the progress. You can see the work being done for the Mayan Train. So it's a real thing, it's happening. Again, if you haven't watched any of the previous Yucatan News Weekly updates, the Mayan Train is gonna take folks all throughout the Yucatan Peninsula, from Campeche all the way down to Tulum, and even down, I believe, to Chiapas, to the archaeological site Palenque. So it's gonna be a pretty impressive thing, but the main thing that it's gonna do, it's gonna bring more tourists from Cancun to Merida, and more people from Merida having easier access to Cancun. So it's gonna greatly improve our transportation options with flying in to Cancun or Merida, allowing for transversing the peninsula very easy without having to drive. Merida and Cancun recently signed a joint tourism agreement to help look for ways to solve joint challenges that they face and to reactivate the economy and to promote tourism. One of the things that they came up with as a joint solution or a joint thing that they can both promote is the region's cuisine. The partnership with Cancun has helped Chichen Itza remain the most visited archaeological site in Mexico, and it's definitely the most visited place in the Yucatan, or in the state of Yucatan. US and Canada and foreign residents have increased 3.5% in the last year based on the number of folks living here with temporary or permanent residencies. Many of them are coming because of the safety of the state, the modern healthcare system, and the dental services, and the very affordable coastal properties. If you look at what's across the Gulf and Sandestin and Panama City and places like that, there's absolutely, this is yet to be developed like that, those areas. And so we have the same pristine white beaches as Sandestin, yet there's only a few resort style properties on those beaches right now. I can tell you that I moved here because of all of those things, because of the healthcare, the safety, and the affordability of the place. So those were just some of the reasons that I moved here with my permanent residency. Many of the retirees, however, settle at the beach, and they've raised the price of real estate in that area more than $25,000 per linear meter. The price of the beach is going up because it's cheaper here than it is on the other side in Florida or in other places like that on the Gulf Coast. Many people prefer to settle in from Chaberna all the way over to Telchac Puerto. And recently I was in that area driving back and forth, and you can just see the development. There are right now 11,600 coastal secondary homes from Sasal to Telchac, and most of those are owned by Yucatecos who rent to snowbirds. But hundreds of those homes are now actually owned by foreigners. Now, 72% of those retirees with permanent residence are from the US, and 21% are from Canada, and 7% are from other countries. Two thoughts about these numbers that they're talking about in this article is that, one, this is only counting folks with legal residency, permanent or temporary. It's not counting all of the folks who are here living on a tourist visa, illegally, I might add, that go and come every 6 months, which they're definitely cutting that out. And secondly, it's focused on retirees at the beach, in the beach communities, while most younger families that I know and that I see live in the city. So those are two things that, the numbers are high, but if you even add in all of those folks that are leaving here illegally and have been throughout Mexico for years on tourist visas, I'm sure that number is way higher. But this was really more focused on the Yucatan. Or one word of advice for all of you watching, start with your residency if possible. Speaking of the Yucatan, 4 of the 7 species of sea turtles that exist in the world actually nest here and develop on the beaches of the Yucatan Peninsula. The sea turtles are good indicators for the health of the overall ecosystem of the ocean. There's a comprehensive plan that they put in place to protect the endangered species to make sure that the elements that they need are protected, such as the beaches and the seagrass. So we are privileged to have sea turtles nest in this area, and they do a great job of conserving the areas that those animals need. Questions, let me know what you think about the rising number of COVID. Merida Fest is a big event, and I wanted to do a video all about Merida Fest and some of the things that are happening. If you're interested in seeing any of those things or learning more about Merida Fest, leave me comments below. I'll drop a link to the official source for Merida Fest. Also, I'll stay on top of this for you for watching, how these COVID numbers are growing. But just yesterday, when I saw that long line wrapped around the testing site, and just today, when I went to take a family member to get a COVID test so they can travel back to the US, there was a line out of the door. I suspect that we're about to have a change in the semaphore or the traffic light for COVID. It's just my hunch. I don't know. Stay tuned. Until next time, this is MexitPlans Monty. I'm out.